You've heard the legends about the Detroit Ghost, right? The story goes that in 1974, a factory black 1969 Shelby GT500 vanished from the streets of Motor City after allegedly outrunning a police interceptor, never to be seen again. Well, look at what's behind me. We didn't just find a dusty car in a barn, we found a crime scene frozen in time. Statistics show that of the 3,150 GT500 cars produced in 1969, less than 10% remain in unrestored survivor condition, and this one has been off the grid for 5 decades. I'm going to take you through the 7 critical steps of restoring a cold case muscle car without destroying the evidence. But before we turn a single bolt, you need to see what we found taped under the passenger seat. Most people grab a wrench first, but on a car with a shadowy past, you grab a magnifying glass. If we touch this car and it turns out to be a rebody or a fraud, we lose everything. We need to authenticate the chassis before we spend a dime. In the muscle car world, VIN swapping is the dirty secret nobody talks about. And the FBI estimates that vintage car fraud is a multi-million-dollar industry. We are looking for the buck tag on the fender apron, but it is covered in 50 years of oxidized despair. I am going to use a non-invasive technique with graphite powder to lift the numbers without scratching the fragile metal. If these numbers do not match the title we dug up, this project is dead on arrival. Here is the moment of truth. The last 6 digits are 481993. According to the Shelby registry, that specific VIN was flagged as stolen and unrecovered in October 1974. That gives me chills. We are literally touching a fugitive. This confirms we have the Detroit Ghost, but that creates a massive legal problem we have to solve while we restore it. The payoff is that a documented story car like this can fetch 30% more at auction than a clean example, purely because of the notoriety. As we move to the engine bay to verify the powertrain, I spot something on the firewall that completely contradicts the factory paperwork. You would expect to see a standard 428 Cobra Jet here, but muscle car history is rarely that clean. Ford's assembly line in 1969 was chaotic, and sometimes parts were swapped just to keep the line moving. We need to check the casting dates on the block. A correct date code should precede the car's build date by 2 to 6 weeks. If this engine was cast after the car was built, we know the original motor was blown up and swapped, likely during those illegal street races. Finding a date code correct 428 Cobra Jet block today is nearly impossible. You are looking at spending upwards of $8,000 just for a bare block if this one is a dud. I am scrubbing the grease off the starter boss, and here's the kicker. The casting date reads 9A14. January 14th, 1969. The car was built in February 1969. This is the born with numbers matching engine. That is the holy grail of value retention. It means this car survived the street racing scene with its original heart intact, which is a statistical miracle. The 335 horsepower rating was historically underrated. These things pushed closer to 400 horsepower and blew rods constantly. We have the original heart, but when I pull the dipstick, the oil is not black. It is milky gray. That means water is in the block, and we might be dealing with a catastrophic crack that no welding torch can fix. We have to get inside, but we cannot just rip out the carpet like a weekend warrior. The interior of a cold case car is where the human story lives. Did you know that 70% of a classic car's smell comes from the degradation of horsehair padding and vinyl off-gassing? It is a distinct aroma of history. We are looking for the build sheet, usually hidden under the rear seat springs or behind the door cards. It is the factory birth certificate that tells us exactly how this car was optioned. Without it, we are guessing. I am carefully prying up the rear bench. If we tear this rot-prone paper, we lose the map to the restoration. Jackpot. It is brittle, stained with what looks like coffee from the Nixon administration, but it is legible. It confirms this car came with the rare fold-down rear seat option and the visibility group. But look at this. Shoved deep in the springs next to the build sheet is a faded parking ticket from Detroit dated 3 days after the car was reported stolen. This proves the owner staged the theft. The mystery is unraveling right in our hands. We are solving a 50-year-old insurance fraud case. However, as we pull the carpet back, we find something that stops my heart. The floor pans are not just rusty, they are completely gone. This is the nightmare scenario for every E-body or Mustang enthusiast. The unibody construction relies on these floors for structural rigidity. If we put this on a rotisserie now, the car could literally fold in half like a cheap taco. We have to brace the door frames before we cut anything. Real data suggests that a full floor pan replacement takes about 40 hours of labor, and that can be $5,000 just in welding time if you are paying a shop. We are going to use a laser level to ensure the chassis does not twist. If we are off by even 3 millimeters, the doors will never close right again. And the car's value tanks. We are welding in 16 gauge steel cross bracing right now. It looks aggressive, but it is the only way to save the shell. The payoff is massive. Once the new one-piece floor is in, the chassis stiffness increases back to factory specifications, making it safe to handle that 428 torque again. Watching the sparks fly is satisfying, but it exposes the next major hurdle. While grinding the rocker panels, I hit a layer of Bondo that is half an inch thick. This car was not just raced, it was wrecked and covered up. We have to strip this entire body to bare metal, and what we find underneath the quarter panel might end the restoration instantly. We thought this car was factory Raven Black. That is what made it the Ghost. But as the media blaster strips away 5 decades of paint, a different story emerges. Paint depth gauges usually read between 4 to 6 mils for factory paint, and this thing was reading over 20 mils in spots. That is 5 paint jobs stacked on top of each other. Why hide the car under so much paint? As the dust settles from the blasting, we see a flash of color that should not be there. It is not black, it is grabber blue. The build sheet said black. The door tag said black. Why is the base metal blue? Here's the reality check. Factory misstamps happen, but they are incredibly rare, less than 0.1% of production. If this is a factory error car, the value just doubled. But if it is a clip job, 2 cars welded together, it is worthless scrap. I am looking at the lead seams on the C-pillar. They look factory. This implies the car was repainted blue before it was sold, or maybe the Ghost was blue all along and painted black to hide from the cops. We are going to preserve a patch of this blue paint for history. But now we have to source parts for the reassembly, and for a Shelby that means entering the dark web of car parts. You can buy a fender for a standard Mustang for $200. A specific Shelby fiberglass fender? Try $3,000 if you can find one. We are missing the original carburetor, a Holley 735 CFM. A modern replacement is efficient, but on a Concours restoration, using a reproduction part deducts points. We need a date-coded Holley from late 1968 or early 1969. I have been scouring forums and calling private collectors for weeks. The supply of new old stock parts has dried up by about 90% in the last decade as hoarders die off and estates get liquidated. This is the hardest part of the game, the waiting. Finally, a guy in Ohio says he has the Carb. He wants $2,500 cash. No questions asked. I drive 6 hours to meet him in a diner parking lot. It feels like a drug deal. But that is the restoration life. I check the stamping, list number 4279. It is correct. We secure the bag. The payoff is that when the judges look under the hood, they see perfection. This carburetor is the final piece of the puzzle to get the engine running. We are ready to reassemble, but there is one final mechanical demon we have not checked, the wiring harness. It looks fine on the outside, but 50-year-old insulation is a fire waiting to happen. We decided not to risk the original wiring. A short circuit could burn this irreplaceable history to the ground in minutes. Electrical fires are the #1 cause of classic car loss. We installed a reproduction loom that looks identical to the 1969 factory tape but uses modern copper. The engine is in, the body is straight, the paint is a sinister, deep raven black, honoring the Ghost legend. We have spent roughly 1,200 man-hours getting to this point. That is 6 months of full-time work. The moment of truth is not just turning the key, it is seeing if the oil pressure holds and if the transmission engages. I am sitting in the driver's seat. The smell of fresh leather mixes with high-octane fuel. It is intoxicating. I pump the gas twice. That is the secret handshake for these old carburetors. I turn the key. The starter whines. And then, boom! The 428 Cobra Jet explodes into life. It settles into that lumpy, aggressive idle that shakes the whole car. The oil pressure gauge climbs to 60 pounds per square inch immediately. We did it. We brought the Ghost back from the dead, but we still have that parking ticket and the mystery of the disappearance. I am going to drive this car to the address on that ticket. Driving a car with this much torque on bias ply tires is terrifying and exhilarating. It wanders over the road, the brakes are merely suggestions, and the steering is vague. Exactly how it was in 1969. We pull up to the address in Detroit. It is an old warehouse. An older gentleman is sitting on the porch next door. I ask him about the black Shelby. His eyes go wide. He tells me that was Mikey's car. He hid it in 1974 because he owed the bookies $10,000. He told everyone it was stolen. The loop is closed. The data, the ticket, the car, it was all true. We did not just restore a machine, we validated a local legend. This Shelby, with its battle scars healed, but its history preserved, is now valued at over $220,000 in today's market. But honestly, the feeling of solving the mystery is worth more than the check. If you want to see us hunt down a 1970 Chevelle SS that has been buried in a shipping container since the Carter administration, you need to stick around, because I just got a lead on a VIN that does not officially exist. You will not believe what is inside that container.